Hello, Phil. How are you
Yay,
doing?
perfect. Good, good. There's our stuff.
Okay, so
Awesome.
yes, this is me, Rita and Phil. We were able to look at the middle school, and these are the things that we are going to share with you, the similarities and then the differences, talking about the recommendations. So looking at the similarities, both of us identified that students had the same entry procedures, which was actually interesting, charming, and the students and the teachers were really ready for them, which created a positive environment at the beginning. We also looked at the classroom environment where the chairs were set in a circular kind of form, and everybody was given the opportunity to share their ideas, to talk about the differences of the different they actually talked about, yeah, the reflections that they actually got, the feedback they got from their teachers. Through this, we realized that they were using a lot of technology. We saw that every student had a laptop and the teacher was using a projector. And then she gave them examples, the choice, whether they can observe everything using their laptops or using the projector, which we thought was really inclusive. And then during their presentations, there was time where he grouped them into small groups. And then the space that he created for each of the students, for each of the groups to share their findings. And then we thought that this was really amazing, that every student was able to speak out their findings and share what they were able to identify through their research. Looking at the overall classroom environment was a very positive, very engaging, very inclusive. Everybody seemed very comfortable to share what they were able to show using their laptops, and also answering the different questions that the teachers were able to identify, and also using the stick notes, giving feedback on the presenter, which was really amazing. Through that, we realized the classroom norms were really, really respected. Every student seemed to respect each other. They were very conscious about giving feedback to each other, which was actually introduced by the teacher. How do you give feedback? And I thought this was really was an amazing start of the lesson, and also a good conclusion of the lesson. Yes, Philip, do you have anything to say about this?
No, I just said that was positive. I agree. I love that the teacher was giving that positive feedback and that inclusivity of directions of what he wanted the students to do, because I kept them engaged, but also gave them clarity of how to get a good, good final product.
Okay, yeah, amazing. So still looking at the traditional classroom, we were able to identify different differences. Yes, Philip, you could go ahead and share what you found out.
Okay, yeah. So for the traditional classroom, some of the differences that I observed was to me, there was an over reliability, overuse of technology. I feel like the teacher relied on that a lot. I said that in my write up, because again, I think we also need to make sure that our inclusivity with paper and pen also, to make sure our students can still use that type of thing, or even vocally, whatever they need to do. Because again, me and Rita both work with students with learning challenges, and Miss Rita even identifies some of those challenges for both online and in person, that she'll probably talk on here a little bit. But again, I thought there was over reliability of technology, and that's something I feel like we have to get away from also, because especially moving into the digital age, whenever we're in person, we need to make sure it's more personable, and also making our students more engaged with us. I thought how the students entered the classroom was good. My only recommendation was that maybe the teacher greet them by their either names or whatever they're called, to get that one-on-one person about personality. Again, it looked like a great entry position and the way they entry procedures. But again, for me, I like just to greet the students one on, by their names, or something that individualizes them. Again, it looks like he had a good entry position or entry procedure, and how they transition in the small groups usage. I did see that they were, he let them group up one by one and twos. He let them sit wherever they wanted to. So again, I would kind of manipulate that to make sure it was more diversity, more inclusion, and how they transitioned or they linked up outside the classroom when they went to the small groups. I did see that there was some girls sticking together and some boys sticking together, and again, maybe to transition them to a boy and a girl, or to transition that a little bit different, so there's more diversity or inclusion in the classroom. But again, the teacher did a really good job on that. And then the last thing was, I would share a timer for the students' computers. Again, I identify Google Classroom because that's what we use. But again, whatever the platform the teacher uses, that was my recommendation. Share a timer on the student's computer so they can all identify their own time, so the teacher's not having to walk around and tell the students. He can say, everybody start your timers now. Or if it's on a platform where it's all shared, he can start the timer from his own platform, and it'd be all the students to stay engaged. Again, that's why I recommended the how to use a Google Classroom timer, and that was the video that I recommended through YouTube. I know,
Okay.
Miss Rita, you identified differences than me. If you want to touch on that.
Yes, I realized, yes, although the class was very engaging, everybody was really participating. I realized that we have some students, especially who tries exceptional. Sometimes it is hard to tell the struggles that they're actually going through. So I realized that although they were grouped differently, but then my question was, and I was relating this to my actual student that I have, unless you try to get closer and then understand exactly what is going on, you never know that this student is struggling. So I think I recommended, I think the teacher would go ahead and take a keen eye on each individual to provide extra attention to see how far they are able to go. And then another thing that I identified was to me, the environment looked like a community-centered environment. Yes, which was great, but then again, it takes me back that we need to fix some time for each individual to see how much they are able to produce and to find out whether they are struggling in any way. Yes, looking at the virtual classroom, Philip, would you like to go ahead and share our similarities?
Yes, thank you so much, Rita. So yes, for the virtual classroom, mostly of this stuff, me and Rita had a lot of the similarities. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We had to think of some differences because we did identify a lot of the same things. For the virtual classroom, um, straight away the entry procedure was lacking. We both identified that because we didn't know it just came on. Again, the way that intro came in and he just started talking, Rita did more in-depth writing upon it. I was just like, it was lacking. It was to me, it was just not a great intro or how they greet. Hopefully that's not how it's really done. And we just seen a little, it was, pieced together. But again, the intro was lacking. The turning on the cameras, we said that also we would have liked for our students to have their cameras engaged so we can see their smiling faces and really know that they're really engaged with us. And we can also identify that, maybe one of our students is drifting off and we need to bring them back into the fold, bring them back into the community. Because again, that's another way we can make these students become a community-based learning, and we get that
Yeah.
community sense of feeling is really by bringing them in. I know he did comment that they were building the plane as they were flying it, so it must have been at the beginning of virtual learning, possibly for
Mhm.
them. So I understand that also. Again, the classroom procedures, presuming that the students knew this flow, it was kind of Rita and me both identify was
Yeah.
kind of just a weird transition or weird classroom procedures was going on. And again, it was at the beginning, hopefully, of this COVID outbreak. But again, the built-in breaks we both identified with the confusing or with the way the classroom was running. Me and Rita both identified we thought there should have been some kind of break for the students. I identified that with that break, they can come back and do a check on learning, which is a great
Yeah.
time. Have those students come back and be like, hey, Larry, Sarah, John, whoever, hey, just random students call them out and say, hey, what do you recommend? Or what did you hear me say? Or what do you think about this? Again, it gives them that feedback and lets the other students know, oh, they weren't that, hey, that's not right. Or yeah, that's right type thing. So again, it gives them ownership. It gives them that check on learning.
Mm.
The teachers working together, me and Rita both identified that also. She identified that the teacher spoke late in the class. She came in and spoke about the indigenous stuff late. And I was like, yeah, she did do that. And why didn't she just talk at the beginning? Because if they had some co-teaching going on, they could kind of do like me and Rita and go back and forth. And again, we've learned that now in the
Yeah.
virtual world. But again, at the beginning of COVID or the beginning of virtual teaching or virtual learning, they might have not have really had that cohesion with those two teachers. Again, so the teachers working together is a recommendation we both had, and then the teacher-centered learning environment. Um, we both identified that, and I am thankful that Rita had said that because I was really trying to put my finger on what to call that, and I was like, I know we know this term. It was really a teacher-centered learning environment, or a teacher. I said it was more or less they were given direction and dictating what was going to happen. So that was something that again we both seen. The differences we observed in the virtual classroom for me, it was uh, the entry procedures was hopefully not that what we saw. So
Yeah.
again, hopefully that entry procedure was just a smash up and not really what it was, because again, virtual learning, whenever your students first come on, you got to engage them. You got to, good morning or good afternoon. You got to get them there and ready to learn with you. And we all know that now. And again, we can bring them into the fold or bring them into that classroom and make them feel like they're part of our community. That's what we like. I did like the Kahoots because it does get them to kind of engage, but it wasn't a lot of engagement. There was no built up or no conversation after the answers. It was just him talking. So again, the entry procedure was lacking any engagement, and that really leads to building the community and having students feel like they're part of the belongings. And again, I kind of wrote that up on my write-up, and asking open-ended questions to get those students. Hey, Larry, how was your day? Hey, did you see that game yesterday? Anything you want to say to these students to get them to kind of break that ice. We got to be icebreakers ourselves as the adults and as the educators, because our students, they want to learn. We know that, but they also coming back into virtual reality or virtual learning. They're like, all right, let me talk a little bit. Again, if we can open them up a little for everybody else to talk more, that's what we really want. And also, possibly the use of us breakout classrooms. So they had the opportunity to really do like we do in our classrooms, where there was 2 teachers. They could have broke out into smaller groups and really engage the students that way. And I thought even like the one teacher, the doctor, he could have talked about one thing with one group, and the other teacher, she could have talked about something. They switched and they talked about, exactly same things, but then switched. So it's coming from 2 different kind of perspectives, 2 different voices. But again, I feel like they could have talked about some things the teachers could have been better with the classroom engagement. So those are like my 2 highlight takeaways that I identified. Again, I feel like we could have talked about a bunch of things for the online portion, because there was a lot of things that we all know now. Again, I don't want to armchair quarterback the guy or the teacher, because I know that this was the beginning of hopefully of online learning. But I'm predicting that it's a lot more nicer and more fluid now. Rita, what do you say?
Yeah, I think our takeaway is basically we learn something out of this, that especially if we are co-teaching, we need to really work together, collaborate, engage ourselves rather than popping in, because we kind of realized that we wondered, is he recording himself and sending the work to the students, or is it a virtual class? And then at the end of the day, we realized that it was actually a virtual class. So I think our takeaway is to really plan better and to make sure that we engage the students better and more in order to help us understand them, to find out whether they understand everything that we are providing. So I think that's what we had for you, Phil. Thank you so much for your time and your input. I think this was really a good collaboration that we had together.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's 6 a.m. in Uganda for Rita, and it's 7 p.m. in Washington State for me. So this is truly an international collaboration.
Yes.
I'm so thankful that Rita has worked with me, because again, I didn't realize she was a day ahead. So this has been really great. I hope you all took something from what we had wrote, but also from what we spoke, because again, this was a really great learning environment for me. I feel like to see in person great positivities, and then online a lot of challenges the teachers were facing, and some learning things that they probably learned, but also I learned from them.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. Okay, bye-bye.